If you've been following along, so far we've installed Unity and we've created a project, and we had a brief look around of the Unity editor interface. And now we're actually going to start playing around with creating some objects. And this is a throwaway project. So I'm going to create a little chaos here. Obviously, if I were doing a design project, I'd be a lot more careful about it. But this is mainly for um, us to see how the editor works. So we don't really have any aim in mind. We'll get to there a little later on in this series, but for right now, we just want to play around. And so, like I said, you can come in here and you can create stuff. And so, since I want something visual, I want to create some um, user interface stuff. So I go down, I right click, I get the context menu, I go to user interface, and then I can create buttons and scroll bars and all kinds of stuff. I'm going to create a canvas first. Okay. And when I create the canvas, it also, you notice, installed an event system, which will be pretty cool later on. And it gives me a place to install other things. And so now I can click on that canvas and you can see it's got its own transform. It's got a render mode for the canvas. It's got a scaler, all kinds of stuff already built in. Okay. So a lot of things have already been done for us. Now I'm going to create some things to go into that. And so I'm going to create a TextMesh Pro. Okay. And you get a nice little thing that says, oh, gee, you haven't used this before. Do you want to install some stuff? And so TextMesh Pro Essentials. You can use Unity Text. TextMesh Pro has some nice text features that allow rescaling and such in a much nicer fashion. Okay. And so we see we got new text is showing up down here. When it installed it, because I just kind of clicked down in here somewhere, it made up its own mind where to put it. And so you notice it's at position -452 at 207 and no Z position because it's 2D and such. And so I have a couple of choices. I can reset it, which is going to set it to 00. And so I go ahead and do that. And since it was anchored in the center, notice that the new text went right to the center. By the way, I can change that anchor. Okay. So I can come in here and I can pick a corner anchor. Okay. I can just say, no, I don't want it in the corner. I just want it in the top, that kind of thing. So it's got a lot of presets in here to pick. You can also shift to set the pivot, alt to set the position. So notice it didn't move when I changed it. So now this time I'm going to press alt, and you can see how the icons change a little bit. And now I'm going to do that. Now new text goes up into the corner. So those anchor presets are kind of nice. Be sure to read what it's telling you if you're uncertain of how, if you don't remember how this works, because you've just seen it once. Don't beat yourself up if you don't remember it instantly every time you look at it. Okay, it really helps if you get used to, using the hints that are built in right into the editor rather than trying to do everything from memory, because trying to memorize everything is just going to lead you to frustration, and it is so unnecessary. There's just too much stuff to remember. You need to find other ways to deal with this. Okay, so I put some text in there. Okay, and notice that text is now part of the canvas. So things that I add to the user interface are going to be part of the canvas, but they're going to go wherever they need to go. Okay. And by the way, since I've got text highlighted, I see its inspector, and it's got some stuff: text style, fonts, all kinds of things that I can do. I can change the color of the font, that kind of stuff. I can play around with this quite a lot. I can also, here's the content area. Ah, well, that kind of looks awful, but that's the text I'm putting in there. Maybe I can fix that. How can I do that? Well, let's see. I come back over here and I see, oh, I've got a width and a height. Let's change that width to, I don't know, 400 instead of, not so cool. How about 600? Huh. Where did it go? Beginner project. Oh, it must be anchored in that corner, and because it's going on one line, it must be running off to the left. Aha, because you see the position. Okay, okay. So what I want to do then is I want to set that position to, I don't know, let's see what happens when I go with 0. Oh, it disappeared entirely. How about minus 100? Okay, still not showing up. Maybe try the other direction, 100. Ah, there it's coming back into view. Okay. Oh, if it's that, let's try 600. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Now I can start seeing things. So you can play around with this a little bit and you'll start getting a sense to how to move things and position things around and stuff. And you can also go in here, and a lot of times you can select an object and drag it around and stuff. But this kind of positioning for text and stuff is much more precise and is the way to do it. Other objects you will drag and drop around, okay? Sprites and such. Okay, so I've got, ooh, it's starting to look like a title. Actually, if I were doing a title, though, shouldn't I have done this? So Alt to get that, set it in the upper center. Okay. Aha. Okay. And now it's starting to look a little bit better, but that's too wide, I think. Let's try 400. Better. Okay. 400 is still too wide for it, and that's why it's still off center a little bit. How about 350? Ooh, much better. Okay. I could probably trim it a little bit better if I kept playing with it, but I'm going to leave it alone like that for right now. So we see that I put something in there. I'm just going to go ahead and put in another little thing. I'm going to put in a button, and I'm going to use TextMesh Pro button. It's the same as the Unity button, except that the text for the button is TextMesh Pro. Okay, not saying I like it better or like it worse, but and you can set up buttons the same way. They have the same anchor, the same position points. So if I do a reset here, it puts the button in the center with the text name button, and you can resize the width and height of the button and stuff. And so this will be something that we'll kind of play with a little bit, and you should play with. Don't depend on me to do all the playing here. Create your own button and move it around and resize it. Maybe create 3 or 4 buttons just to kind of get the hang of putting buttons in there. We'll talk about the image, which this button has its own image already. Okay, and so we'll talk about images and putting images in there and doing other kind of stuff. But for right now, this is enough. We've spent enough time that you kind of get a sense now of how to create visual objects without doing any programming whatsoever. And so we'll leave it here and come back next time and do a little more work.